Hello, my name is Danny Nowlan and I'm the Director of ChassisSim Technologies. In this video tutorial, what we're going to be discussing is how do you interface ChassisSim to simulate ovals and super speedways. Believe it or not, it actually isn't that hard to go from road course mode to from road course to oval mode, and we're going to discuss it with by illustrating with some actual examples and showing some overlays and some things to think about and some things to consider. Now, the first thing you need to do is obviously you load in your model of your oval car. So here's a old IRL model that I had. Now, obviously, because we're now working on ovals and super speedways, we now need to basically set ChassisSim up in asymmetric mode. So to do that, all we do is we go to the Edit Model menu and we toggle on Symmetric Editing flag. So it basically says symmetric editing is off, and you'll see down here a little tab that says asymmetric editing. Now, our next point is how do we generate a curvature and a bump profile and altitude road camber files? Guess what? You do it exactly the same way as you would do for a road course. So you generate your monster file, and as you can see here, we just simply create a curvature file. We input our raw curvature file, and we specify where we want our curvature file to be. If you've got the bump profile toolbox, you just simply click on the bump profile toolbox, import the monster file, and if you actually don't have the altitude road camber data, you click on altitude road camber from data, and you import the monster file, and you export all that out. So you're using exactly the same techniques as you were doing when you were generating a road course. Now, one thing though you do need to do when you're generating an oval is click on either circuit threshold settings in the tree view, or alternatively, if you click on the circuit menu, modeling options. What that does is this brings up some of the tweaks that you can use in ChassisSim to fine-tune where you want the corner entry, corner exits to be. Now, the reason you've got to do this for ovals is that typically in ovals, your curvature or inverse corner radius is much lower than what you would see on a road course. So all you've got to do to toggle between road course and oval mode, because obviously the default that ships with ChassisSim is road course mode, you've just got to click here to assign oval settings. That's it. That's all you need to do. Now, to show you what that actually did, if we go to the circuit threshold settings, you'll see here that I've got my turn in at 0.0015. My apex section is a lot tighter than what it is on a road course, and my turn exit is 0.0015 meters curvature, and my global straight tolerance is 0.0015. And typically what I like to do when I'm looking at the actual raw data, I'll actually look at the curvature plot and take a look and just see where it slows down. And if I need to, what I'll play with is actually tweaking this variable. But usually in about 90% of cases, all you've got to do here is click here to assign the oval settings, and you're good to go. So we click on OK. So that will assign those settings. Now our next step is go circuit data. We load in our curvature file. We're going to load in our bump profile, and we import our altitude road camber file. We say use the altitude road camber file. Click on OK. Guess what? We're good to go. So to start, we are now good to go. Now, I've to run the simulation, all we've got to do now is click on the Start Simulation button. Click on Start Simulate, and it'll start simulating. I'm not going to do that because I've already done that. I've already done that previously. What I do want to bring to your attention is just a few little tweaks in ChassisSim that I've found really useful for aiding me in looking at ovals, and also too I want to point out a comparison between actual data and ChassisSim data just to highlight some of the things that you need to be looking for and the things you need to be focusing on. The first thing I want to talk about is tweaking the braking parameters. Now, in tweaking the braking parameters. Now, typically, what I will do in in an oval, particularly a super speedway, you'll see in super speedways the drivers will actually keep on the throttle, but will actually build up the cornering force gently to actually rotate through the corner. A way that we can really make sure that ChassisSim does this is really by playing with the FB brake parameter here. Now, typically, I've set this up so that it's still in road course mode as an illustration for you guys, so you know what to play with. So typically, what I'll do here is I'll set my FB brake parameter typically to about 3,000 newtons. What this does is this forces ChassisSim not to use the brake. So what we're going to be doing is we're effectively going to be using ChassisSim. What ChassisSim is going to do is it basically handicaps its ability to break through the corner. And I'll just click on OK to commit that. The other thing that I'll do is I'll click here of simulating an oval. What that does is what this will do is this will force ChassisSim to brake very gently very gently into the corner. Now, typically what you'll do is that you'll overlay actual data to real data. And typically what I do is I will tweak this FB brake parameter as required. Now, bear in mind though, I'll only really play with this. I'll only really worry about playing this with really, really low values if I'm at super speedway such as Fontana, such as circuits like Fontana. Indianapolis is a good case in point. I wouldn't class Indianapolis as a super speedway per se. However, that being said, though, if the car is set up, you're pretty much going to be flat through. You're going to be almost flat throughout the lap. So, but the braking will be very, very limited. For those of you who are going to be playing with short course ovals, the sort of stuff you see in NASCAR with the 1 mile tracks. Typically, I'm not going to play with FB brake that much. I'll only play with FB brake that much if I need to slow down the car. If I'm dealing with an oval where I do need to brake into it, I'll typically leave the FB brake parameter alone. Now, as we discussed before, I've gone through and run a simulation. If we go into the correlation that I did before. Now, typically, what we've got is actual is colored, simulated as black. Now, as you can see, our bumps are pretty damn good. So that's one tick. So all of a sudden, we've got so we can basically use ChassisSim as basically a virtual 7-post rig if we want to play around with damper adjustments. As we can see, the steering's pretty much spot on, and as we can, and also too, as we can see, we've got the speed traces are pretty close. The difference is, as we can see, in this particular zone here, there's as you can see, ChassisSim has just overbraked a little bit, where the actual car is rotated through a little bit. Now, if you want to, you can chase that. Let me just say one thing very, very clearly here. If we take a look at our actual correlation between actual and actual and longitudinal G, there's not very, very much in it. By all means, if you want to impress team management, you can go through and play with that to your heart's content. Indeed, one of the things you can use to help you in that is things like the auto grip factor, and that makes team management happy. We all go away, we all backslap, etc., etc. Everyone goes away happy. I will say one thing. If you need to do some quick analysis, that is close enough. The reason I say that's close enough is I've had a number of my colleagues use this sort of correlation on ovals for setup sensitivity analysis, and it has been perfectly fine. So, by all means, you're totally free to play around with the FB break parameter to get this bit looking better. But in reality, if you need to do, if you want to, if you're in a situation where you need to do some sensitivity analysis quickly, I can tell you from experience that's good enough. So, in summing up, then, all that we've got to do in all that we've got to do to get ChassisSim to do ovals is, once again, we load in our car file. We click on toggle between symmetric and asymmetric editing. We then create a curvature file, create a bump profile, and generate our altitude row camber file from data in exactly the same process that we'd be doing it for a road course. We click on circuit threshold settings to make sure that we've got our oval settings in, and then we click on the tab that says click here to assign oval settings. We load in our circuit data in exactly the same way as if we were doing it for a road course. We click on OK, and then all we've got to do to simulate, we click on Start Simulation, and away you go. That, ladies and gentlemen, is just how quickly and easily you can do oval simulations with ChassisSim. And lastly, to dial in your braking parameters, you play around with your FB brake parameter, and also if you're running on super speedways or high-speed speedways such as Fontana, Talladega, and Indianapolis, remember, click here if simulating on an oval. That, ladies and gentlemen, is just how straightforward simulating ovals with ChassisSim is.